Softball Super Regionals presented by Capital One. It's a fabulous Friday with lots of softball on the way. We start our coverage here from the OU Softball Complex. The top-seeded Oklahoma Sooners welcoming in the 16-seed Wildcats of Northwestern in our first Super Regional of the day. And about 30 minutes away from where we stand is where both teams are hoping to get to in OKC. A trip to the Women's College World Series is on the line in this best of 3 series. You'll see all the other games in action later today on our ESPN networks as we say hello and welcome. It's go mode for the Super Regionals. First pitch on the way. Pitching the tent yesterday outside of Marina Hines Field, and this is the final product. The tailgate is on, and most fans are inside as this is a sellout crowd at the OU Softball Complex. Sold out in about 5 minutes for this Super Regionals between Northwestern and Oklahoma. In the circle, they've got a stud in G. Juarez. Yeah, the transfer from Arizona State has made her claim as the ace in the circle for Oklahoma this season. She's such a powerful lefty. She's got good movement, good speed. Her rise ball is phenomenal, and she has led the Sooners. Only one loss that came in last weekend's regional for G. Juarez on the season. An All-American from a season ago, National Player of the Year, top 10 finalist as well. And when the Northwestern Wildcats go against her, what can they expect? Yeah, well, she's not going to throw it too hard in the mid-60s, not going to blow it by anybody, but really relies on her spin. She's got a good curveball. Her rise ball is really strong. It bites up through the zone, and obviously coming from the left side, it's another hard thing to battle when you're facing G. Juarez. It's not only is she going to spin it, but mixing speeds well and pretty consistently through at-bats. Well, it was rare to see Oklahoma lose because their 41-game win streak was the longest in NCAA history. 333 runs scored. Wow. 83 home runs during that time and 20 wins by way of run rule until Wisconsin snapped that in game 1 of the regional final. Well, this is the second Big Ten team that they will face in 2 weekends as we take a look at Northwestern's starting lineup, brought to you by Capital One, led off by their All-American Rachel Lewis, and also Danielle Williams is a hitting pitcher. She's in the 8th spot. First pitch right by Lewis at 67 miles per hour. The Ohio native leading the team in home runs on the season. He's been solid all year long, especially during Big Ten play. Northwestern coming in at 47-11. Foul back, a very young group out of Evanston, Illinois. Several fresh faces, new faces, as 8 first-year players in total under Kate Drohan in her 18th season. And she earned Big Ten Coach of the Year honors this year. On the outside corner, and G. Juarez strikes out the first batter. And for Kate Drohan, she has done an amazing job taking over for the Hall of Famer Sharon J. Drysdale, and she is helping her team make their 5th appearance in Super Regional play, the first since 2008. Drohan is also aided by her twin sister, the associate head coach, Carol Drohan, as well. They've built a great program, and Northwestern coming in with a lot of confidence, Kayla. Yeah, without a doubt. They're not intimidated to be here. They played Oklahoma earlier this season twice. They lost both games, one to run rule, but you know, they've played here before. They feel confident, and they feel like they're in a very different spot than they were back in March. And a big piece of that is what you talked about, Tiffany. This is a really young team, 5 freshmen in the starting lineup, only 2 seniors that we're going to see come up to hit today. You know, and they had to struggle a little bit last weekend. They lost a game to Louisville, but they had to rally back and were faced with tough time. With rain delays, they had to play, didn't finish one game until midnight on Saturday, had to come back early on Sunday because of weather. And so they went through it last weekend, and they think they came out better
now than they were a week ago.
Won 3 straight elimination games out of the losers bracket to make it to Norman, Oklahoma. And 1-2 count, now 2-2 to Morgan Nelson. Well, Nelson, one of the grannies, if you will, in the lineup among this senior class out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And she works it to a full count. Pulls that one foul. Well, the other coach in the dugout is Oklahoma's Patty Gasso, who has won 4 national titles since being in Norman, 25th season as head coach, and another Big 12 Coach of the Year honor racked up. They're hopeful to get back to OKC. And a one-out walk to Nelson. Morgan Nelson, 6 base on balls in the NCAA tournament. And that extends her career long on base streak to now 33 games.
And Morgan Nelson, quality at bat. She's one of those hitters that's interesting, has 44 strikeouts, but 47 walks, so a pretty decent on-base percentage in the 2 spot.
And no relation to her is Maeve Nelson, the freshman shortstop out of River Forest, Illinois. Struggled in last weekend's regional, but was solid for this group during Big Ten play. And the Wildcats came up just short of winning the Big Ten crown. That was handed over to Michigan, and then, of course, inclement weather canceled their tournament, so the Wolverines, the Big Ten champs. But more importantly for Northwestern, they're 2 of the 6 teams that made it to the NCAA tournament. They're one of the last 2 standing for the Big Ten.
Yeah, between them and Minnesota, you know, talk about Northwestern not getting a Big Ten championship. They didn't get to play Michigan this year, and that was a series that you wanted to see as a softball fan.
And that's exactly what the fans want to see here as G. Juarez records her 2nd strikeout of the inning.
After giving up the walk, comes back with a great strikeout, a drop ball. Great movement, great bite to get Maeve Nelson swinging out of the zone.
We talked about just how strong of an arm Juarez has in terms of not necessarily velocity, but keeping hitters off balance. 11 of her first 16 pitches rather have come by way of strike. Nikki Cochran, one of the 5 freshmen in this heralded class, starting for the Wildcats. And puts it on the ground and gets it through for the 2-out single. So a couple of runners aboard for the Wildcats.
Northwestern making some things happen, although they strike out twice. Early in the count, goes after this drop ball in the outside corner. She kind of hooks it. She's in the front of the box. She knows that G. Juarez isn't necessarily going to blow it by her, so she's making sure she's going to try and get that ball before it gets too much break and gets just enough to get it out of the infield.
A steady dose of freshmen, as we mentioned, in this lineup. The 3rd one Juarez is facing in a row. This time it's Jordan Rudd, the RBI leader for the Wildcats.
Jordan Rudd's played a big role for this Northwestern team. Not only, I mean, she's batting in the 5 spot today, but she's hit 4 pretty often, and she's the catcher. I mean, that's a big role. They have a complete freshman battery right now today with Danielle Williams in the circle and Rudd behind the plate. They have to be very mature, and sometimes their pitching coach, Michelle Gascoigne, sometimes forget how young this team really is and how young her pitching staff is, because they are so mature as players.
Well, Gascoigne knows a thing or two about pitching, wore an Oklahoma uniform. The alumna also was the winning pitcher in the 2013 National Championship. And she's in one side of the dugout, and a former teammate in the other, and Kaylani Ricketts. It was the first opportunity for Northwestern to strike here, and as you mentioned, Kayla, Rudd has been, a steady source of offense for this young team. The 0-2 from Juarez. And Rudd stays alive.
I think this is what we're going to see from Northwestern as this game goes on. Is G. Juarez, like you mentioned, she's really hitting the strike zone well. So early in the count, this Northwestern team's going to have to be aggressive. If they see something in their wheelhouse, they got to attack it.
Pitch. And fouled off once more by Rudd, pulling it foul. And we saw this lineup that features about 4 lefties helped to carry the Wildcats last weekend. They're hoping that the batters from the right side of the plate can help carry the load this time around. Struck out looking. G. Juarez, 3 strikeouts in the inning, 2 runners left on base, 1 hit given up, but no runs as Oklahoma's ace looking sharp early.
G. Juarez coming out with command and control. She gets 2 strikeouts looking and 1 swinging to end the inning.
Welcome back to Norman, Oklahoma, as Danielle Williams, the freshman lefty in the circle for Northwestern, making her first ever Super Regionals appearance.
Really impressive freshman season for Danielle Williams so far. We mentioned she's the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, but she has 310 strikeouts on the season. She throws in the mid-60s. Her go-to pitches are going to be that rise ball and her changeup. When her changeup she is deadly. And she's going to continuously challenge hitters throughout the Oklahoma lineup with a speed change. And she wants to change planes, especially with her rise ball. Get the eye levels of all these batters to continually look up and down and keep them guessing.
Well, I think this is going to be one interesting challenge for Williams, and it'll be interesting to see this go head-to-head as we take a look at the Oklahoma starting lineup, brought to you by Capital One. Given the fact that they lead the nation in batting average, they're also putting up close to 8 runs a game, and we have National Freshman of the Year finalists and Danielle Williams against one of the National Players of the Year, top 3 finalists, in Sydney Romero leading it off for the Sooners. Big 12 Player of the Year as Oklahoma swept the table in all conference honors this season. Romero, the senior out of San Diego, California. Romero, the All-American, put herself together a nice regional with 6 for 13 with a home run and a couple RBI. That one in there for a strike, 3 balls and a strike now to count.
Romero's a really impressive hitter. I think first and foremost, when you look at her statistically, yes, she's above 400 in terms of average, but only 8 strikeouts on the year. Really good quality ABs. And she only has 11 walks, too, so she gets in there and she wants to hit away. I mean, she's going to take the opportunity to swing the bat when she gets something in the strike zone.
448 clip on base percentage, 37 slugging from the plate. She's got 18 home runs to lead the way for the Sooners. Full count. Did she commit? First base umpire says no. Steve McCowan over at first. As we take a look at those National Players of the Year, we're seeing one and we'll see another two later tonight as Rachel Garcia and Megan Good, we expect to go head-to-head from Westwood as they're both pitchers of the year in their respective conferences. That should be an awesome showdown.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's pretty rare. I mean, you have two hitting pitchers going against each other in a super regional, especially for unseeded JMU. And the performance from Megan Good to get them there was so key and so important. And she's a huge reason why they're getting an opportunity to play the Bruins.
They will be in action tonight at 9 o'clock over on ESPNU. Volley of View now. Up to bat. They're keeping close watch of Romero over at first base as View hitting .377 on the year. And you just go up and down this Sooners lineup. You see so many different players, 7 of their 9 hitting .300 or above. This one, opposite field, flied out to left, and Romero trots back to first.
And that's going to be the challenge for Williams today, is you just don't get a break at all when you face the Sooners. Like you said, most of their hitters are going to be above 300, but you look more at it too. Every single player on their lineup has 4 home runs or more, so there's always constantly a home run threat, 1 through 9. They don't strike out very often. They're just a tough team.
Yeah, Kaylee Clifton is one of those players that makes the Sooners just so tough. About 30 minutes south. She grew up in Wayne, Oklahoma. And Clifton, 415 on the season. An All-American, has been just a stalwart for this program. Mentioned Romero, the Big 12 Player of the Year. Clifton racking up Defensive Player of the Year in the conference. Of course, we mentioned Coach Gasso, her 7th straight Big 12 Coach of the Year honor. That one in there for a strike, gets away from Rudd, and heads up base running by Sydney Romero to now move in scoring position with 1 out.
This is a really great read by Romero. Notices behind the plate that Rudd on the transfer just loses the ball. As soon as she sees that, no hesitation, and gets her way down into scoring position at second. It's going to be something that Northwestern's going to have to keep in the back of their mind. This team's too talented to give them free passes, to give them an extra base here and there, to give them a walk. And you got to trust your stuff if you're Danielle Williams here, to not be afraid to throw it in the zone or through the zone, as long as you trust your movement and speed change. And that's what she's done so far this season. She's looked so confident, so strong. She's going to have to carry that throughout the weekend.
And what do you think she was able to perhaps pick up after watching Wisconsin down Oklahoma last weekend at home?
Well, I think that, you know, Oklahoma faced a really good pitcher from Wisconsin that challenged them. And I think what we heard from Patty Gasso was that, you know, OU was a little bit tentative. So I think that, you know, early in this game, you have to pound the strike zone, make them prove that they can hit you and hit your movement and hit your off speed before you get nervous to try and throw it too far outside of the zone. And that's easier said than done, because again, you're going against one of the best hitting teams, you know, ever. Not only this season in college softball.
And a walk to Clifton. And so you don't want to give the Sooners any free passes or extra opportunities just because they are so dangerous at the plate. And a young lady who showed that exactly why last year was Jocelyn Allo, the National Freshman of the Year from 2018, had 30 home runs on the season. The Ryan native followed up with all Big 12 first team selections this year. Now 2 on for the sophomore.
Now looking at, once again, facing this Oklahoma lineup, another big key that you have to remember as a pitcher is that, you know, statistically, the chances are that they're gonna hit a home run or two. I mean, they're averaging like 1.8 home runs a game, so they're gonna hit a couple. However, there's a huge difference between solo shots and multiple run home runs. And if you're giving up 3-run, 4-run home runs, it's a lot harder to come back for your offense, especially an offense that isn't known for their run production, but they have good pitching and defense.
And the wind is blowing out in center field. It's about 20 miles per hour, so if Allo can get it up in the air, it could do some damage. You talk about home runs, I mean, they're leading the nation in home runs, 107 on the season. Just wow. And that's been the trend all across college softball. That one in the dirt. And so after getting ahead in this count, even at 2-all, to Allo. Correction there. 103 home runs on the season, excuse me. And the number that they're attempting to reach is their highest ever in school history, which is 107 back in 2015. Third batter now for Danielle Williams with a 3-ball count. Hangs it up there and fouled off by Allo. This Oklahoma team, 13 super regional appearances, 10th straight for the Sooners. Put together an impressive season, 52-3 on the year. That's their overall record as they swept through the Big 12. And if you're Danielle Williams, what are you looking to throw here? It's a full count. You don't want to load the bases if you can help it.
Yeah, I think you might go back to the changeup. And I think challenging Allo on the inside corner is not a bad idea because of her break as a lefty coming across the plate. You just have to be really careful that you don't leave that thing over the heart. You got to really jam her in the hands, keep it on the very inside corner of the plate, and hope it breaks in further than that.
This one left up in the zone to left center. It's off the wall. And Clifton held up at third base. Romero plates the first run of the game, and Jocelyn Allo coming through with a ribby.
Jocelyn Allo takes advantage of a pitch. It's probably just a little bit too sweet. It's trying to be elevated up in the zone, and she climbs the ladder up with the pitch, gets on plane, and drives this off the wall. A few feet away from being a 3-run home run, but gets the Sooners on the board nonetheless.
We mentioned the wind blowing out here at the OU softball complex. So just missing that one was Allo to knock it out of the park, but that gets the Sooners dugout ramped up. And I think if you're going to go back and look at that at bat, that was a 9-pitch at bat for Allo, so she stayed really disciplined, staved off a couple of 3-2 pitches, and then put it into play.
And this far, we really haven't seen Danielle Williams get control of the outside half of the strike zone to righties. She's been missing a little bit on that pitch. And then you have to go inside. You go a little bit upstairs, and it allows Allo to take a big hack on a 3-2 pitch. And like you said, after a 9-pitch battle, she did a really good job of getting rid of fouling off of pitches that were maybe borderline and got something more that she could crush, and she did that.
Grace Green, one of those impactful players for Patty Gasso in her first season in a Sooners uniform. A freshman out of Oakdale, California. He's a player who can work the ball to all fields, very versatile. Sees that pitch come on the inside corner, called for strike 2.
Bringing that drop ball inside. It's a good job by Rudd behind the plate to try and frame that up and help out Williams. But I think the Sooner fans are a little upset, might have been a little low.
But already, Oklahoma's hitters are making Danielle Williams work. We mentioned that she threw 340 pitches last weekend. This is her 29th of the inning. And gets Green looking on the inside corner, called strike 3, and a big K for the freshman.
Patty Gasso doesn't like that call, but it's going to be really similar to the pitch that she got earlier in this count against Green, the drop ball in the inner half. She's saying that's too low. Got to bring it up.
That inside on the hands of Shay Knighton. Knighton, the All-American, 2-time All-American, who has come up in so many clutch moments, one of those cornerstone pieces for this group.
She's had some incredible postseason moments. Trying to make it back to OKC to finish out her career. Maybe get some more of those before she leaves.
We talk about it all the time, trying to figure out the umpire strike zone, especially early in the game. Naomi Erdahl behind the plate, Steve McCowan and Peterson and Cody Little are umpires for today. And 4 straight balls to Knighton to load the bases.
3 walks for Danielle Williams already in this inning. You know, coming in, she only had 39 on the entire season, 222 innings pitched coming into today. You can see right there, 19 balls she's thrown, only 14 strikes. Really hard time getting ahead of these batters. And I think she needs to take note of what was being called. That low drop ball was being called pretty effectively. Try and hammer that pitch early in the count. It might not be her best pitch that she's got, but it's what's working today for the strike zone.
And already we see some activity in the Northwestern bullpen. Kenna Wilkie, the sophomore righty, warming up just in case. So it's lefty versus lefty as Nicole Mendez, the junior, stepping in. Big hat there, swing and a miss, strike 1. Mendez hitting 300 in the postseason, had a home run last weekend. Gets on top of that one, and it trails foul.
You know the thing, looking at this Oklahoma lineup, they only have 2 lefties in the lineup. So really that lefty-lefty matchup isn't going to happen very often for Danielle Williams, which is probably where she has her biggest advantage. trying to get her curve to move away and then fool some lefties with the rise ball and the changeup to go along with that pitch.
Well, I think this is a key moment, Kayla, for both of these teams. I mean, you have a freshman pitcher in the circle. This is her first ever Super Regionals experience. The bases are loaded. This is a veteran group for Oklahoma. You talked about Patty Gasso saying they were tentative last weekend. We'll see they're able to break through with 2 outs. Rung up on the outside part of the plate. Danielle Williams, the freshman stud, coming through for the Wildcats.
Danielle Williams gets another strikeout looking, gets that ball to run away to barely clip the outside corner.
Well, Danielle Williams, who's due up 3rd in this inning, getting out of a huge jam. And how much of a confidence booster is this for you if you're just a young freshman?
Well, I think it's huge. First and foremost, I think if you asked her, she would say that that was by no means anywhere close to her best inning or her best control. And so to get out of that bases loaded jam on a strikeout looking to get the call on the outside corner that was a little bit wide maybe is huge moving forward.
Well, in this Southpaw showdown, we'll see how G. Juarez comes back out and maybe trying to go to the same spots that Williams hit.
Yeah, in all honesty, both of these lefties actually throw similar stuff. I think what we've seen from G. Juarez early in this game, though, is she has hammered the zone. You know, when you throw with command early in the count, you have that good stuff from the left side. You can really spin it up, really make hitters look silly at the plate with your aggressive speed change, your aggressive movement. She's got a good rise ball, too.
One and 2 to Morgan Newport.
Trying to go with a little off-speed drop. Elam can't frame it up enough to give her that strike. But it's not a bad call. I mean, last inning we saw, you know, Patty Gasso getting upset that the umpire was calling that low outside pitch to the inside, the low inside pitch to righties, but that'd be similar to the low outside pitch to lefties here. Go for it, why not?
Newport fist this one coming in is Grace Lyons from short. That's 1 down. Well, you mentioned, Kayla, that these two teams met back in March. It was OU's second home tournament. And Kate Drohan's group was shut out both times. G. Juarez was in the circle for one of those games. She picked up the win, didn't allow any runs, just 2 hits and 6 strikeouts.
Oklahoma outscored the opponents 15-0 in that 2-game series versus Northwestern. And they had some big offensive numbers, big offensive production, 6 home runs by 6 different players. Williams didn't last long, gave up 6 hits in 1 inning, and they went to the pen.
She's on deck, looking on as Lily Novak with an 0-2 count.
But that was something clear made by Coach Drohan, is that this team has had a growth mindset their entire season, that they understand they're young, they're youthful, they're getting better weekend after weekend. They're stepping up in different ways.
And the strikeout, the 4th of the afternoon for G. Juarez.
But they're gonna have to do some growing and they're gonna have to make some adjustments because G. Juarez is looking good early in this game. It's just peppers the outside corner. Little backdoor curve to Lily Novak for a big strikeout.
With 2 out, Danielle Williams standing in. Williams sees strike one. A lefty versus lefty matchup. The California native hitting .264 on the season. And quickly down the count, 0-2. G. Juarez is a pitcher that, when you watch her, she just seems so focused. She knows exactly what she wants to do and where she wants to go with the ball. She works relatively quickly. And we'll see what she comes with on the 0-2. This one just popped out of play over the Sooners dugout.
And what an experience for G. Juarez to, transfer schools, to have the opportunity to become the ace at Oklahoma. And she feels comfortable here, and I think that's going to be a big key. She's another year older, another year wiser, and is supported with a really good offensive squad.
She made it to the Women's College World Series a season ago, but helped Oklahoma in that transfer from Arizona State to Norman. And another lefty in the circle, another powerful, dominant lefty for Patty Gasso. Showing her domination right there. 1, 2, 3 inning, back-to-back strikeouts for G. Juarez. Look at this OU campus, the library. School's out as of right now, but Oklahoma in session with Northwestern. They lead 1-0, but we go back to that first inning, and Danielle Williams getting out of that jam with bases loaded.
Yeah, and getting a little help from the umpire on some pitches that are definitely barely hitting the corners of the strike zone, if at all, but she's understanding where they're going to call strike three and taking advantage of getting those balls maybe out of the realm of what these Oklahoma hitters can crush.
Through 36 pitches in that first inning, struck out a couple of batters, also walked through three, and you mentioned, Kayla, just about her strikeout to base on ball ratio, so very good. For every 8 strikeouts, she walks 1 batter, so it was odd to see her give up those free passes early on.
And we talked to Patty Gasso, and she mentioned, too, looking at last weekend's regional, the only complaint that she really had from her team was that they were a little bit too tentative. And it's going to be interesting to balance for these Oklahoma hitters where the strike zone is and where they need to be aggressive. 2 strikeouts looking in the first inning with runners in scoring position. I mean, those are times and opportunities that you want back if you're an offense.
And when you look at their offensive numbers from last weekend, of course, 3 pitchers combined for that complete game, or perfect game. They put up 12 against the Retrievers, but outside of that, 4 runs scored against Wisconsin first time around, 1 in that regional final loss, and then they beat the Badgers 2-0 to advance. And with this elite group of batters at the plate for you, you always say to yourself, well, you just think it's a matter of time, and maybe they're going to come out, play a little bit more freely. But Danielle Williams standing in their way saying, not so fast.
I think it's so important, too. If you want to win a national championship, and I know this OU team is doing everything they can to do that, you have to make sure that you have really timely hitting. And when you have runners in scoring position, you have to take advantage. And it's only going to get tougher. I mean, Danielle Williams is an incredible pitcher, but if you get to OKC,
she'll do things just like that if she has the opportunity. And home plate umpire Naomi Erdahl saying Lindsey Elam may have gotten a piece of that.
Yeah, called for a foul ball, and because it dropped in the dirt a little bit, I don't think Rudd caught that cleanly. Yeah, it's Gibson hits the chalk. So the umpire did hear that that was a foul and there was contact on the barrel. And it looks like maybe there was, yep. And you can hear that on the field pretty well if you're the umpire to make that call. And that was a good location for her changeup with 2 strikes, getting it low in the zone. Elam's lucky she barely got a piece of that one.
Full-time starter behind the dish, only played in 16 games last year. Fouled it off herself. So again, it stays 2-2. Another Sooner going deep into the count, and the 9th pitch of the at-bat on the way from Williams, and gets her swinging. This time it's for sure. Well, this is the WNBA's 23rd season, and on Saturday we will have a rematch of last year's epic Western Conference final between the Phoenix Mercury and Seattle Storm at 3:30 Eastern on ABC and the ESPN app. How about the Storm going on to win that series and the WNBA title, led by Sue Bird. Nine-hole hitter and Grace Lyons at the plate. For as much as we talk about Northwestern's youth, you have to look over at this Oklahoma roster as well. Several first-year players contributing for Patty Gasso, and Grace Lyons is one of them.
It's cool to hear Patty Gasso talk about Grace Lyons, and first and foremost, she's an athlete and knew they were going to need her into the season, but how important she was at the shortstop position.
Going down swinging once more, so Danielle Williams keeping these batters off balance. 4th strikeout of the game.
This is going to be the most important pitch for her moving forward, is the changeup, and that is a perfect location with 2 strikes. It's low, no foul tip on this one as Grace Lyons goes down swinging. That's back-to-back changeup strikeouts for Williams. And now in the back of every Sooners mind that gets up to the plate is that she could throw that changeup with any count. And if she's consistent with it low in the zone, it's a hard pitch to hit. So when you see it, it looks like it's going to be a strike out the hand, and then it just drops off the table.
Back to the top of the order for Oklahoma. Sydney Romero, who walked her first time up, came around to plate the only run of the game off the Jocelyn Allo double. A very muggy Friday from Norman, Oklahoma. We've seen a lot of weather move across the state. About 83 degrees. I wonder what the feels like is on the field. Closer, probably 90. That doesn't deter Sooners fans at all. They are in the stands, looking on as the top-seeded team in the country has a 1-0 advantage. Low, now full count. And Romero ropes this one in the left. Coming in charging is Morgan Nelson, and that ends the inning. 1, 2, 3 with a couple of strikeouts for Danielle Williams. Well, the NCAA Women's Softball Super Regionals presented by Capital One continues as game 2 of this series between Oklahoma and Northwestern, getting underway tomorrow, Saturday at 4 Eastern on ESPN. The winner of this series will play either Texas or Alabama in the Women's College World Series, as their game 2 starts tonight at 9 Eastern on ESPN. And as always, you can catch it on the ESPN app. Crimson Tide able to take game 1 in Tuscaloosa. Montana Fouts, the SEC Freshman of the Year, picking up the victory in the circle. Going 2 now to Skylar Schellmeyer. Juarez able to deliver a first pitch strike to all 9 batters that she's faced. Ahead in the count here. And strikes out Schellmeyer. Juarez is on a roll, half a dozen Ks today.
And that's her 3rd strike out in a row. And I think that you're going to continue to see G. Juarez having a huge advantage over the lefties in this Northwestern lineup. I think she's got really good bite to the outside part of the plate against lefties.
This first pitch swinging from Rachel Lewis and flies out to left.
No ground outs so far, 2 flyouts, 6 strikeouts. It's inducing some mishits and some swing and misses big time for the Sooners.
Wildcats with 1 hit. That was from Nicole Cochran. Nikki Cochran single back in the first. It's the 5th Super Regional appearance for Northwestern. First one in 11 years. You're just tuning in, Caleb Bro, Tiffany Green with you. From Norman, Oklahoma, top-seeded Sooners with a 1-0 advantage over Northwestern, the 16 seed. We just mentioned their 5th Super Regional appearance. Good look there at one of the stars for Oklahoma. Just announced Tuesday that Sydney Romero is one of the top 3 finalists for National Player of the Year. G. Juarez has been dealing in the circles, 6 strikeouts so far, only allowed 1 hit. And again, Nelson pulling this one foul. Reach base with a walk in the first. And we had a chance to talk with Kate Drohan, and she said it even after that regional game. She said it felt like we experienced an entire season over that one weekend in Evanston. And ringing her up again, G. Juarez has just been on point.
G. Juarez using that good spin from the left side to freeze up a lot of these Northwestern hitters. OU still had 1-0.
begins next Thursday as Oklahoma, the #1 overall seed for the second time in program history. They won it all back in 2013, the last time that happened, and then they repeated in 2016 and 2017, and I think 2017 will go down as one of the most epic battles that we've seen in the Champ Series. Florida State seeking to repeat, but they've got to work their way out of the loser, well, rather, they've got to come from behind, if you will, and win 2 big games at home against Oklahoma State after suffering the loss last night.
It sounds a little familiar to what they did last year after dropping the first game of their Super to LSU, and then they dropped the first game of the World Series. I mean, they've had to claw their way through the losers bracket en route to a national championship last season. Wouldn't be surprised if they do it again today. 6 straight elimination game wins for the Seminoles. That ties an NCAA record. And Lonnie Alameda's group is not phased at all with their backs against the wall. Like you said, Kayla, that's just old hat for them after what we saw last year. Volley of view right off the glove of Williams. Right there is Maeve Nelson from her shortstop position. Off that ricochet, she's still able to deliver it to first in time. It's a big out for the Wildcats, as this is just a ball in the outside corner that Volley of view reaches for, but off the ricochet, Maeve Nelson makes a good throw on the run, sidearm, to get rid of it quickly and get the big out. Smooth.
And we'll see some great defenses in action later today with Florida and Tennessee, but we've got the best fielding team in the country in Oklahoma. 17th ranked in fielding percentage is Northwestern, and that was a quick example of why they've been able to hold up Danielle Williams and help her to amass 31 wins on the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. This is a good defense for Northwestern. I was about to say the same. Hey, Northwestern's not so bad. We got the #1 and the #17 team defenses in the entire country playing here. Maeve Nelson at shortstop, Mac Dunlap at third base, who's basically in there for a defensive specialist position. Doesn't hit, but holds down the hot corner for Northwestern.
Paulo drove in the only run of the game back in the first. And we go back to it.
Yeah, got a pitch up in the zone, and she hammered it to the wall. Had the opportunity to source Sydney Romero, picked up a double for herself, and I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't see many high and inside pitches as this game goes forward. But I mean, it really started with a really quality at bat. Fouled off a lot of pitches, fouled off a ton of stuff on the inside corner, waste pitches, maybe questionable borderline pitcher's pitches. So she got something she could hit fair. Once again, this changeup right at the knees, right before it crosses home plate, and then completely drops off the table. She's been hitting that pitch consistently in the last 2 innings.
And this one, Nix Allo, so she'll take first base with 2 outs. I think it may have gotten off that right elbow.
Just got a little bit too tight on Allo. Just trying to keep jamming her throughout the day. I mean, we've seen that they're going after her hands.
When you think about what she was able to do a season ago, I think she took the softball world by storm. She was drawing comparisons to Lauren Chamberlain. This year, she's kind of settled in a little bit more. Some would say a sophomore slump, although she's hitting .388 on the season, 14 home runs. Wonder what the cause of that may have been for her this year.
I think what happens typically for a lot of these hitters as you go from your freshman year to sophomore year, the amount of film people have on you goes up infinitely. And I think last year she was a bad ball hitter. I mean, she had to. I mean, with the 30 home runs, she was hitting pitches that were questionable, that were in the other batter's box, out of the park. And as you get older, you have to make sure that you're really taking advantage of your opportunities. She's got 26 walks on the season. Maybe being a little bit more disciplined in her at-bats, making sure it's really in her zone. Or, you know, hey, maybe it's just that she's tougher. Pitchers are pitching her tougher this season. I mean, there's a lot of things you can attribute. I mean, mentally going through the idea of like, hey, this is my sophomore year. I got to be better than my freshman year, which is really hard when you put up the numbers that she did. I mean, you already kind of put yourself in a hole when you're trying to compete against yourself from last year.
Yeah.
And the other reality of the situation is the Sooner home run numbers were down last year comparatively to this season, and she put up 30 of them. So they only hit 85 last season, and she had a good chunk of that. Now there's getting more production from the entire lineup for the Sooner team this season with 103 home runs on the year.
Green out in front of that one. Struck out looking in her first at bat. Something we've seen both of these southpaw pitchers be able to do. Catching batters looking.
And as this game's continued on, you just feel like Danielle Williams is really just trying to get better command for her pitches. She's just understanding her zone. She's been more comfortable. She's not been afraid to throw to these batters. You know, early in this game, she just was too far off the plate. Now she's clipping the corners better.
And this one in the glove of Rachel Lewis, able to recover and gets the out. So nice glove work there for the All-American second baseman. We'll talk to Patty Gasso, the Oklahoma head coach, when we come back. 1-0 lead for the top seeded Oklahoma Sooners. Get a chance to chat now with their head coach, Patty Gasso. And Coach, you said earlier this week that your team was playing tentative in the regional last weekend. How did they break out of that mold this time around?
It's now like being on a mission. I mean, it's win or go home, and I think both teams feel that, so you can feel the intensity down here on the field. But that's what it's about. So it's time to battle, clutch up, do those things in order to get you where you want to go.
Talk about clutch up. G. Juarez, 7 strikeouts. What do you like about her today in the circle?
Good mix, working early in the count, keeping them guessing just like their pitchers doing to us. So it's a really great pitching duel right now.
All right, thanks, Coach. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, Juarez has just been lights out from the circle. You mentioned the 7 strikeouts. She's gotten ahead in the count, as Coach Gasso talked about, and now she will face the heart of the order for Northwestern with Nelson, Cochran, and Rudd coming to the plate.
Yeah, you know how you're having a good day and feeling good when you've thrown first pitch strikes to every single batter that you've faced today. And I think both of these pitchers are doing a really good job of mixing pitches enough to not really give confidence to the hitters going up with a plan. I think, you know, as a hitter, you go up, you cut the plate in half, or you pick a speed pitch or a type of pitch to try and hammer. You know, but thus far, both of these pitchers have thrown the off speed early in the count, also late in the count. They've done a good job of going up and down with the rise, maybe a little bit of a, you know, a down pitch drop from them every once in a while. And it's challenging for these hitters to pick something to sit on.
A great duel here from Oklahoma. Southpaw showdown. #1 overall seed Oklahoma and the 16 seed Northwestern Wildcats. had 7 strikeouts for Juarez. Maeve Nelson was one of those strikeout victims. And the walk given up to Nelson. Sports Center, 6 p.m. Eastern after PTI with Sage and Kevin. They will look at how Kawhi and the Raptors can beat Giannis and the Bucks one more time, plus breaking down the Warriors dynasty and a review of the week that was in the NFL. Sports Center after a PTI on ESPN and the ESPN app. And if you're Northwestern, you're well aware of the dynasty, if you will, of this Oklahoma program, an elite program, 4 national championships. We mentioned won it in back-to-back seasons in 2016 and 17. And the commonality between many of them is the fact that they've had Lefty U in the circle. Kaylani Rickards back in 13. We saw the Pages, Paige Parker and Paige Lowry, and now Giselle Juarez.
Yeah, there's just something about this Oklahoma team and some powerful lefty pitchers. And I mean, that's what's been their, you know, token player on the field that's mattered most to them in terms of getting a national championship. It's been really impressive to see that dynasty build through the years. And everybody, all good college coaches are always out scouting for a fantastic lefty pitcher. The Sooners just happened to get quite a few great ones to lead them to some national championships, 3 since 2013.
Just the 3rd program in NCAA history to have more than 2 national titles. And Juarez with the pitch to Cochran, and she flies out to center.
And I think lefties are tough, and it's such a big deal to have a lefty in the circle because we're seeing consistently more and more left-handed hitters, and especially left-handed power hitters. I think that, you know, from an early age, people see the advantage of having a lefty hitter as a softball player. You get a huge advantage. You're closer to first base. You're going to get on base a lot more often. So when they're young, you know, maybe they're undersized or not as strong, it's easy to put some girls in the left-handed batter's box to give them an advantage. And then they get older, they start hitting the weight room, and then all of a sudden they become really efficient power hitters from the left side.
This one gets past Elam. And Nelson able to move to second base now in scoring position on the wild pitch.
And we talked about opportunities earlier for Oklahoma in the first inning with the bases loaded. The best opportunity right here for Northwestern since the first. Got a couple runners on. And you have one of your best hitters up, if not your best hitter this season, Jordan Rudd.
Mariah Lopez warming up. Another great arm for the Sooners, just in case she's needed. But we've also seen her split time with Juarez as a 3-person pitching staff. As that one takes a nasty hop, but still able to get there in time is Kaylee Clifton, and now 2 retired. The Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year handled that one just nicely off the glove of Green.
Yeah, that curveball kind of jams up Rudd and peppers it over to Green and just bounces off her chest, but into the perfect spot. Because maybe if that ball gets by Clifton at second base or pops into the outfield, that might be a run for Northwestern to tie this thing up.
The tying run 60 feet away from home with Morgan Newport standing in. Newport, who had a very good regional, 8 for 16.
And she was pivotal in game 3 against Louisville, and in the third game against Louisville, I should say, game 7 of the regional. She had a huge double in the gap to put up 2 runs on the board for Northwestern. Helped give them the lead and ended up winning that game 4-3.
1-2 now. Wars ahead. Got another strikeout. Giselle Juarez has been rolling. 8th K of the day for G. More to come as we'll talk with Northwestern's head coach when we come back.
Cats.
We talked about her getting stronger after giving up that first run. She's been able to retire a lot of batters, only allow 1 hit.
Well, I think she got some favorable calls that have given her confidence to maybe really keep working the lower half of the zone, work the corners, to challenge these hitters with her off speed, because her off speed has been completely on point and she doesn't feel like she has to throw it over the plate. She can throw it at the knees and have it land more around the ankles at the feet of these batters, and she'll induce a swing and miss, which we've seen pretty consistently today.
And heading into the bottom half of this inning, Williams only giving up 1 run for a team that averages 8 a game. Not phased at all. We mentioned that before in her first super regional appearance. And the grounder over to second. And Lewis not able to handle it. Bobbled it a couple of times. And the error will go against the second baseman.
Lewis gets handcuffed a little bit on this ground ball that kind of hops up on her a little bit, maybe aggressively at the last second. She just can't handle it on the transfer. An uncharacteristic error. You know, this Northwestern team is very prideful of their defense and doing the little things. Just gets eaten up on that one and can't wrangle it in to make the out at 1.
And Williams gets a strike in to Nicole Mendez. And go up and down this lineup for Oklahoma. We talked about Shay Knighton and her incredible postseason moments. Nicole Mendez was able to get a home run off of Florida in that Women's College World Series Champ Series game against the Gators back in 2017. We'll see who can come up with a clutch here for the Sooners against a very good pitcher in Danielle Williams. Well, we talked about this duel back and forth. The All-American G. Juarez has held down the fort for Oklahoma, but as we have said all game long, so is Danielle Williams. I mean, she's one of those fresh faces that we've seen burst onto the scene this year.
Yeah, she's been really impressive, without a doubt. I mean, she's talented. She has really good composure, and I really appreciate how well, after giving up, you know, a little bit too much in the first inning, got to bases loaded, how she's just not let it phase her moving forward. You see she's throwing with a little bit more trust in her stuff, throwing a lot more strikes. And she's just so impressive. I mean, up for Freshman of the Year, going up against Montana Fouts and then Natalie Den Hartog. Some really impressive freshman seasons. And for Montana Fouts and Danielle Williams, they're a huge reason as freshman pitchers that both of those teams are playing in the Supers this year. As well as Natalie Den Hartog with some big hits. Came up with some clutch hits, 62 RBIs throughout the season, but in the regional as well.
Minnesota seeking their first ever Women's College World Series appearance. And this one over to first base. And Novak getting the lead runner, Knighton, at second for the first out.
This is a nice job for Northwestern after that Nicole Mendez couldn't get the bunt down. They get her to ground out to the first baseman and get the lead runner. And that's a big deal. It's a big out. I mean, this Oklahoma team does a really good job with runners in scoring position, have a high batting average with runners in scoring position. And if you can keep somebody off a second, it just makes it that much harder for them to produce runs.
And into right field to the warning track is Newport, and tagging up is Mendez. So now she moves into scoring position with 2 down. And interestingly enough, Oklahoma, a right-handed heavy lineup, has actually hit lefties much better this season. You see a 381 average for the Sooners batters. Williams thus far holding them at bay, only allowed 1 hit so far.
I think the biggest key is that changeup has been really strong today, and a huge piece of why the Sooners only have 1 hit on the day. We talked about it when, while G. Juarez was going. I think she's doing a great job of mixing her stuff. We haven't seen her only be successful with the changeup or only be successful with the curve or rise. I mean, she's had to use every bit of pitches in her arsenal. She's mixing different quadrants, and I think her pitching coach is Michelle Gascoigne, who played here, who knows how hard it is to pitch to these Sooner hitters. Has some firsthand experience. I'm sure she threw plenty against a really tough Sooner offense when she was playing here in inter-squad scrimmages and all that stuff, so maybe a little bit of an idea of what to throw to them.
Gascoigne now an assistant with Northwestern. Good look at her there. 2013 alumna of Oklahoma in her 4th season. And has worked well with this pitching staff led by Williams. Patty Gasso said yesterday just about the homecoming for Gascoigne is a pleasure to see, more players, young women getting into coaching, and it was something that was inevitable for Gascoigne. Strikeout for Danielle Williams. Still, the Wildcats need to work their way back, trailing by 1. Patty Gasso's crew leading by 1. And before the game, they decided to have a little fun in pregame as Gasso lining up. I don't know if she is, call it Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, whichever one. Both Heisman Trophy winners, both playing in the NFL. Now let's see what Gasso's arm looks like as she's gotten some great protection. Look, Shay Knighton is there, hoarding her off the pump fake. And oh, do you count that as an INT?
I don't know if she celebrated. I mean, maybe she's trying to hit Kaylee Clifton. Who knows?
Kayla Bro, Tiffany Green here with you from the OU softball complex. Northwestern making their 5th super regional appearance. They're trying to get to Oklahoma City in this best-of-3 series. They can take down the #1 overall seed, Oklahoma. Wildcats hadn't been back to USA Hall of Fame Stadium since 2007. Meanwhile, Oklahoma, they've been regulars there. Trying to get there for the 8th time in the last 9 years. And I'm surprised at this point that we're seeing this pitcher's duel, given the fact that the indication that you got for Patty Gasso was that this team was going to, kind of open up a little bit more and play freely.
Well, I think looking at the way that Sooners played last weekend, I thought that they maybe would come out with a little bit more fire, a little bit more oomph early in this game. But I think the first innings are really good. identifier of how they're doing so far is they had an opportunity to honestly put this game away early because G. Juarez doesn't give up very many runs. So with the bases loaded, if you come through and you score 2, 3, 4, you can pretty much put this one in the books. But I think that they've allowed for this Northwestern team to stay confident, for Danielle Williams to work through situations and get better as this game goes on. And credit to the freshmen for stepping up in a really tough environment against the best hitting team in the entire country and giving them a run for their money here at home.
And Williams in the box now, struck out swinging her first time up. And we've seen this quite a bit. I mean, it's nothing new to softball, but over time, really good hitting pitchers. And so when you think about the progression of Williams in the circle, you also have to think about what she may be able to do at the plate over her next 3 seasons. And goes down on strikes again, rather swinging. So G. Juarez now closing in on double-digit strikeouts.
It runs this ball, curveball away from Williams. That movement away with the way that Williams' front side starts to pop out a little bit too soon. She's not going to be able to catch up with that one. And that's a hard pitch as a lefty to hit a ball running away from you, because a lot of your momentum as a left-handed hitter, whether you're sitting in there and hitting or if you're a slapper, is so much runs away towards first base. So a lot of times you pull your front side out a little bit too soon, because you know that's where your follow-through is going to take you and where you're going if you hit the ball in play. That's why that lefty versus lefty matchup, although it's somewhat rare in softball, is really imperative to a lefty pitcher's success. Is, how can you beat lefty hitters?
And so far, the Wildcats haven't been able to get many hits off of Juarez. Just one given up in the game, and you heard their coach Kate Drohan saying they're pressing a little bit, just need a base hit. And Juarez thought that was the 3rd strike. Instead, she trots back into the circle, says, wait a minute, I gotta do this one more time.
It's a good pitch. Gets Shellmeyer swinging in on the miss, but both her and Elam behind the plate, I think this one's over. Got one more to give. She laughs it off. She's getting too excited, trying to get off the field too fast.
Not sure what the conversation is for Kate Drohan, but she bends the ear of the home plate umpire before heading back to 3rd base box. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. Pitch to Shellmeyer. And this time, she goes down swinging, but the ball bounces out, so she's got life again.
Yeah, a little foul ball here with 2 strikes. Was trying to battle. You can see Shellmeyer is going to shorten up on her swing a little bit. Going to choke up on her bat. Just to try and stay a little bit quicker, because she's getting beat on velocity a little bit here against Juarez.
Fouled and into the stands and out of play.
Just trying to get her hands on top of this a little bit. Try and stay level, but that bite on the rise ball induces a little bit of a foul pop-up. Just trying to stay alive in battle against Juarez.
Juarez nearing 80 pitches. The 8th pitch of the at-bat coming your way. Chopper on the ground, over to Clifton, and 1-2-3 inning for Juarez. Sooners holding tight to their 1-0 lead here in the Super Regional.
They call me Coleslaw. Coach asked who I was, and he said, "Who's the Coleslaw girl?"
Jessie girl.
Parky Poo, Shay or Sugar Shay,
Sid or Squid. Everyone calls me E or E Money.
Shani Flame,
Hot Cheeto, my Rye. My family calls me MJ, but yeah, those are it.
That's a new one on me. Hot Cheeto. I don't think we can let that one ride, Kayla, because I'm trying to get the correlation. What would be your thoughts?
I don't know. I kind of like it.
You do?
That hot Cheeto. It's a little flavor.
You also like nachos? Tacos.
Yeah, I like tacos. I also like Cheetos. I mean,
Cheetos.
That's my favorite chip personally.
I'm
But
going for the O's. Nachos, Cheetos, tacos. And what about G Juarez? What about G Money, G Baby? She's been money though so far today.
she's been absolute money today. I mean, she's doing her job as a pitcher. I mean, she's kept this Northwestern team to only one hit, and it was really a soft ground ball through the 3-4 hole. I mean, she's owned it other than that. And she's done that a lot this season. I mean, they've had 26 shutouts this year as a pitching staff. Doing a great job of pounding the zone. Now all she needs is her offense to come through.
25 wins on the season. In the Big 12 Pitcher of the Years, the Sooners have gone on to dominate in the Big 12, 8 straight conference titles. There's another star on this group in Sydney Romero.
Yeah, Sydney Romero is just one of the most talented players in the entire country, and it's no surprise that she's a finalist for top 3 National Players of the Year. She brings it all, balance between power, good average.
And puts this one into play. This one hitting off the wall, and Romero sliding in for the double to lead off the Sooners.
I mean, Sydney Romero makes a great adjustment. It's a pitch down in the zone, and this is where she is so good. I mean, that's a ball, and she goes down to get it and hits it off of the wall to pick up a double to lead off the inning. Her 3rd time around, her 3rd at-bat. She's been on it in her last 2 at-bats. She got a walk. She lined out in her 2nd at-bat of the day and then connects to get the double, try and start something up for the Sooners.
You know, she had something really interesting to say in the fact that, you know, last weekend they saw their 41-game win streak come to a close. And she said one of the important things for us was to just get over it and move on. And they're doing that here so far, but it takes leadership from veterans like Romero, like Knighton and Clifton, and a view to help lead your team into what they hope to be a deep postseason run. I mean, when you think about coming in, the expectations for this Oklahoma group, they're expected to get to OKC each year.
Yeah, and I think even last year they made the run to OKC, got kicked out early with 2 losses.
And a view into deep left center, tracking it down is Shellmeyer. Well, don't miss a minute of the action from the NCAA Softball Super Regionals. We'll take you to the best live action on the Bases Loaded channel on the ESPN app. You can see every game and every big moment on the road to the Women's College World Series only on our ESPN networks. But back to your point, Kayla, just about those expectations.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that they, after winning 2 national championships, you go and you lose 2 right away in Oklahoma City. As hard as that is, that's a disappointing year for Sooner fans. I mean, you have this expectation that you've built a dynasty that's going to compete for a national championship, and it's so hard once you get to the World Series. So it's no knock on the Sooners for their performance last year. I mean, they lost out to Washington, who ended up being the runner-up. But I mean, this is what Patty Gasso has built, is that mentality where it's OKC or bust for this team.
She has done a great job in her 25 seasons. Her name is synonymous with success around college softball. NFCA Hall of Fame inductee in 2012. One of the winningest all-time coaches.
Yeah, and something really important for her was, after losing in the regional, how did they respond? They actually thought it was a good thing that they kind of broke up the, over 40-game win streak just to see how their team would react after getting beat. And especially in an elimination-style tournament where you have to compete, you have to play, you have to rebound quickly and go win another game that same exact day. And that could happen here in the Super Regional. It could happen down the road in OKC. But it takes a lot of guts and a lot of grittiness to take one on the chin and lose, especially after coming in as the 1 seed and bounce back. And a big piece of that victory, and she talked about it, was G. Juarez coming up in the circle really strong because the offense still only scored 2 runs in that Game 7 in the Norman Regional.
And being able to gut it out was all the more important after being in an uncomfortable and relatively unfamiliar position for the Sooners all season. Clifton delivering this one into the gap. It's going to score, Sydney Romero. And the Sooners up 2-0.
And that's a huge run for the Sooners, and that starts with Sydney Romero setting the tone, getting on base, willing herself to get a base hit, and then Kaylee Clifton, who gets something a little bit low in the zone too. This team is starting to adjust, drives this one out to the left center gap to pick up a big RBI and a huge insurance run. And that feels like at this point in time, with the way that G. Juarez is pitching, that feels like a gigantic run on the board for Oklahoma.
And Williams, who had only given up 1 hit coming into this inning, 2 big doubles off the bat of Romero and Clifton. And look, all 3 of those balls, even the fly out from a view, were in the same area in the outfield.
And so was the earlier base hit from Jocelyn Allo. Everybody's peppering that left center gap, so I think that tells me something. Number 1, the pitch that they're looking for, with the exception of Romero, who basically went and got a low drop ball in the outside corner and hooked it into the gap. They're seeing that inside pitch better for righties versus the outside pitch.
You mentioned Allo, and here she is. Runner aboard, 1 down. Williams staying away with that first pitch. Allo just gets on top of that one. And then when runner moves to third base, so Clifton staying at third. And Allo is retired. Well, what a job Danielle Williams has done all game long. And this is new territory for her. This is new territory for many of the Northwestern players. We mentioned just how young this group is.
Without a doubt, win-lose in this series, you have a huge opportunity here to build some big-time postseason experience and to go toe-to-toe with some of the best hitters in the country if you're Danielle Williams, and prove to yourself that you're good enough to hang with them. And she's done that today. And only giving up 2 runs so far in the bottom of 5 is impressive when this team averages almost 8 runs, more than 8 runs a game.
Trying to paint the outside corner, ball 4, 4-pitch walk to Grace Screen. first walk since she gave up 3 in that first inning.
It tells you a lot about Williams and how effective she's been after the first inning. And I think something that was big is that, the Sooner team hasn't seen as many changeups, and they've done a pretty decent job of hitting her harder stuff when they get the opportunity.
Now batting, number 17, Shay Knighton.
Runners at the corners for Knighton. And you go back to Danielle Williams, and she was like, whoa, wait a minute, where'd you come from, Maeve Nelson? You gotta back on up, you gotta announce yourself before you roll up on me.
Williams was in the zone.
That's also something that's important given the fact that, again, this is a big stage and a big opportunity for Williams, but this team still smiling and just kind of playing loose.
Step into it, okay? Step into it.
And taking off is Green, hesitated for a little bit, and then gets to second.
Yeah, she's just trying to potentially get in a pickle if she needed to, but there's nobody covering in second. The Northwestern team was willing to give that base up to Green, try and save the run at third.
And through the legs of the third baseman, Mac Dunlap. And a couple of runs here for Oklahoma. They lead by 3.
Once again, these righties in the lineup are trying to jump on the, inside pitch. Shay Knighton takes one down in the zone, pulls it down the line, and it goes right through Mac Dunlap's legs. It's going to be an error on Dunlap and a big insurance run for the Sooners. And Shay Knighton's fired up. She's had a tough NCAA tournament so far. Hasn't been as productive, but that's a good way right there to kind of get your emotions back in check and try and get you back to center. And is that, you'll take whatever they give you. If you get on with an error, you will take it. And that's the second time today she's been on with an error on the Northwestern defense.
Knighton, one of those players who's kind of battled through some injuries throughout her career, but a 2-time All-American, was a Big 12 Player of the Year back in that 2017 season when they went on to win their 4th national championship. And after that error on Dunlap, still all smiles. Is this just a matter of young and just you don't know what you don't know?
Yeah, I think something that they really talk to us about, I think is important, is that the coach allows them to be who they are. That's what they believe. The team wants them to have their own unique personalities and be who they are. And if they smile, if they don't let mistakes get to them, that's the way they need to play. You don't want to force a team into a bubble where they can't be themselves or they can't play the game the way that they've been playing their entire lives, because that's what's gotten them there. Of course, you can make small adjustments and build and grow, but let their personalities shine. And that was another big piece in terms of the freshmen getting an opportunity to play. With 5 freshmen in the lineup, that was key, was the upperclassmen and the veterans allowing those freshmen to step up and shine in a way that they needed them to, because 5 starters in the lineup, obviously they wouldn't be here without them.
And gets Mendez looking on the inside corner. So a couple of runners left on base, but Oklahoma tacking on some insurance here in the 5th. Well, thanks so much, Molly. And I hear that Minneapolis is sold out. We're sold out here as well in Norman. Attendance coming in at 1,868 fans in the stands here from the OU softball complex. As we're glad to have you with us. Kayla Bro, Tiffany Green with you. Wind blowing out here from Marina Hines Field. We've seen some caught up in the air, hit deep, but none gone out of the park Oklahoma able to tack on a couple of runs last inning to give them some breathing room. Top of the order up for the Wildcats with Rachel Lewis, Morgan Nelson, and Maeve Nelson, no relation, due up. There's so much softball action going on here today, several games. We could see perhaps our first teams punch their tickets to Oklahoma City. As I know many of you who may be looking for LSU, Minnesota, it's just starting over on ESPNU, who will join us after this game concludes. Off the wall, the leadoff hit for Rachel Lewis, trying to go into second base, slides in safely. And she's got the double to lead things off for Northwestern.
This is without a doubt the best swing that we've seen from this Northwestern team today. Rachel Lewis, who's an All-American last year, gets a pitch well over the strike zone, a little bit inside, but just stays on plane and gives us a ride to the wall out and left. And I think that's maybe the first mistake that we've really seen from G. Juarez today. A pitch that's very hittable for this team, especially with a talented hitter like Rachel Lewis up to the plate.
And the first hit given up by Juarez since the first inning.
And it's so important moving forward that Northwestern sees themselves being successful against G. Juarez in whatever way they can. If it's taking a walk, if it's driving a double to the wall, anything that they can get in terms of positive production right now is going to be helpful for not only now until the rest of the game, but tomorrow, or if they have to force the if necessary to see her again potentially in games 2 and 3.
This one in the dirt and getting past Elam, and the wild pitch allows Lewis to now move over to third base. Still no outs for Northwestern, so a good opportunity for them to perhaps answer in this next inning. Nelson, this one going into foul territory, but Clifton and Allo couldn't get to it in time.
Rachel Lewis was ready to tag on that play. I think there would have been a good opportunity with how they were drifting in foul territory and where they were on the field. Might be a tough play, try and catch that ball and go home, which is why I don't really think that Kaylee Clifton really made that hard of an effort, because she was really aware of the tag play potential.
And Juarez gets Nelson. Well, the Women's College World Series returns to Oklahoma City. The action begins Thursday at noon Eastern, live on ESPN. For more information on the 2019 Women's College World Series, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships. G. Juarez, we've talked about the dominance. You've also mentioned her efficiency, double-digit strikeouts again today. And that's been a trend over the last several games for her. In 6 of her last 8 starts, she's hit 10 or more Ks.
It seems to be getting stronger as the season continues. And it's important to remember, too, that G. Juarez wasn't here all year for the Sooners. Didn't get an opportunity to work with pitching coach Jen Rocha until about January when she came onto campus. So I think that shows that building of trust between the pitch caller and the pitcher, understanding of what they're looking to do as the season continues, getting comfortable with your catcher. She really appreciates Elam behind the plate, and just developing and getting stronger as the season goes on because of your getting comfortable in your environment.
Good look there, Jen Rocha, who came over from that Florida staff to join Gasso here in Norman. Excellent pitching coach. She coached some of the best. In fact, she's on the same staff with Delaney Gorley, who is one of the grad student managers for Oklahoma. Gorley played her ball at Florida, one of those good lefties.
Hey, Delaney Gorley in there, not to mention Kaylani Ricketts, by the way.
And Nelson inside out. And the pop-up to Clifton. Clifton so solid from her second base position. She's helped to anchor that right side.
Stepping to the plate now, number 31, Nikki Cochran.
And we'll get a quick check of the studio update. We'll toss it back to Molly.
Thanks, Tiffany. We have a programming update starting right now over on ESPNU. We have first pitch of LSU Minnesota, and when this game 1 in Norman goes final, you'll see the Gophers and Tigers move over to ESPN2. Tiffany, Kayla, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Molly. And remember, the Tigers had to win on the road in Supers 2 of the last 3 years. Did it back against the Dukes of James Madison in 2016, and then in 2017 against Florida State. Two cuts, 2 strikes. Well, the leadoff double was wasted because G. Juarez has been in the zone. Strikeout of Cochran. We move to the bottom half of the 6th.
So far in this game, we've seen Danielle Williams go 5 innings, but it's really been G. Juarez in the circle for Oklahoma. 6 innings pitched, only 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. She's been dominant, only giving up 2 hits today. And the Sooners, 3 hits, very timely, getting 3 big runs. And that 3 runs really feels like a pretty big gap between this Northwestern team and this Oklahoma team, who looks to be in the driver's seat from a pitching standpoint. Northwestern's going to take the opportunity to take out Danielle Williams for a new pitcher. Kenna Wilkie, the sophomore, getting an opportunity to battle against this Sooner team. And she brings a completely different look. I mean, she's a righty. She throws in the mid-60s. She works up with the rise ball. She'll hit the screwball at the hands of this right-handed offense for Oklahoma, and she'll make speeds well as well. She'll throw everything a little bit at a different pace, bringing an off speed every once in a while. And there it is right there, coming in around 54 miles an hour. Just enough of a change. Try and mix things up.
Well, Oklahoma looking to tack on as much insurance as possible, as you don't want Northwestern to gain any momentum going into game 2 tomorrow. And the quick pop out to third base and 1 away.
No, you're right, Tiffany, and I think that's the biggest key is if you give the 16 seed Hope, if you're the 1 seed, that's when they're the most dangerous, is if you keep it tight, if they feel like, oh man, we have a chance. That's when upsets happen. But when you put teams away early, when you take advantage of runs opportunities, and you have somebody in the circle like G. Juarez that has just been suffocating for these hitters for Northwestern, it's when you have a better shot in game 2.
Just a reminder, game 2 is coming your way tomorrow at 4 Eastern on ESPN. And if necessary, game 3 will be played at 2 p.m. also on ESPN. It's just a full weekend of games. You want to be tuned in, dialed in as much as possible, because if you think about what we saw last weekend with so many tight games and teams being pushed to the brink like Northwestern and like Oklahoma, it's this time of the season where literally anything can happen.
Yeah, we saw some incredible softball in the regionals. 8 of the sites went to game 7, forcing the if necessary. It's going to be exciting to see as we move forward in the super regional round, how many of those teams on the road are going to give challenge to the higher seeds. But that's what it's all about. I mean, we've been talking about all season long how much parity there is in this sport and how talented each conference is and how the Big Ten's getting better and stronger. And Northwestern's a great example of that, how the Big 12 is getting better with the emergence of Texas and Oklahoma State in the last few years, and Texas especially this year. And just softball's getting tougher around the entire country.
Well, just a reminder that the 7 Innings is the weekly podcast with the ESPN personalities covering the sport, entertaining us all the way to Oklahoma City and beyond. Listen in, because there is some great conversation. Garcia versus Good, that's one of the duels that we can't wait to look forward to. Two-way players for UCLA and James Madison, respectively. Dogs and Cats showdown and Minnesota Madness, as we mentioned already. The Gophers, Golden Gophers in action against LSU. That's over on ESPNU now. You got Amber Pfizer, 4th in the country in strikeouts, and then you have a really potent LSU team that has gone quiet in the latter part of the season, but you feel like they could wake up at any moment and really unload.
Yeah, it's been really impressive over the last few years. You look at an LSU team, and no matter where they're successful, sometimes it's in the circle, sometimes, more often than not, it's in the circle. Sometimes their strength's been in the batter's box, but regardless, Beth Torina has found a way to get her teams, whether they've been a high seed, a low seed, an upset, to get to Oklahoma City. I mean, she prepares her teams well for winning postseason battles, and I think they're going to have a good shot of upsetting Minnesota. And I think Amber Pfizer is an extremely talented pitcher, and she's shown that throughout the entire season. She throws really hard, brings good velocity. So I think it's going to be a challenge, because what we've seen, like you said, from LSU in the last few weeks is they haven't done a great job in the batter's box, been pretty limited on their run production. But they could bust out and get a good victory for sure.
They're looking to get to their first Women's College World Series as Elia Flores, the pinch hitter, flies out to right. I mean, just matchups all around. You talked about how the Big 12 is getting stronger and stronger with Texas. We saw them in action last night, being shut out by Alabama, but they're making things interesting. And then Oklahoma State, Kenny Gajewski's group down in Tallahassee, 1 win away from making it to the Women's College World Series. Back to just how dominant Oklahoma has been. 8 straight Big 12 regular season titles. And then you look at the Cowgirls, who have won 17 of their last 20. Their only losses during that stretch coming to Oklahoma. And that Red River rivalry. Say that 3 times really fast.
Yeah, Oklahoma State's a fiery team. They play on emotion, and they thrive when they're in situations where they come up with a big hit, they get fired up, they get the crowd fired up, they get their dugout fired up, and I think that's where it's going to be interesting to see how Florida State responds, is how can you use home field advantage to kind of quiet the emotion of Oklahoma State. I mean, Samantha Shao, definitely the leader of that, brings it every single game, and she pitched a gem last night.
3 balls and a strike to Sydney Romero, who doubled back in the 5th, which is the 56th of her career, ties a school record. Let's see what she does with this pitch. And that one hit her. She'll go to first base and try to kind of get out of the way if that one spun out. And 1 aboard now.
It's her first hit by pitch of this season. This one comes up and in and just hits her on the left hip. Maybe pulls her up to the ribs. Any way you can, though, right?
Yep. Here's the lefty, Fale Aviu. High, fly out to left field, and that does it. So Northwestern down to their final 3 outs. We'll see if they have some comeback in them. Well, let's take a look at today's Capital One rewarding performance, and it's none other than G. Juarez.
Yeah, no doubt here. She's done such a good job of controlling this game from the second she stepped into the circle today. Does a great job of mixing locations, been able to throw to all quadrants. She's thrown in the off speed every once in a while, just enough to keep this Northwestern team off balance and really have not had quality at-bats, quality contact off of G. Juarez today.
Well, she's searching for her 15th shutout as a starter. She's got 17 overall on the season.
Oh, look at that, only 96 pitches. She's pacing so well for a start in Supers.
Only twice this season has she gone over the century mark in pitches. The last time was on May 4th against Oklahoma State. Interestingly enough, in that victory, she shut them out 3-0 and had 13 Ks. She's in double digits once again today in the 0-2 count to Jordan Rudd. Rudd over to first base, scooped up by Grace Green, and 1 down.
I'm going to talk about it, but Grace Green over first base done such a good job this season. Just a big piece and a big addition to the Sooner defense. And we talked about they're one of the best in the country, but it's really cool because you have a senior at second base in Kaylee Clifton that works with Green. And then you have the freshman, obviously, Grace Lyons at shortstop.
And this one is trailing, and coming over to her left was Fale Aviu. And 1 more to go for G. Juarez and the Sooners.
Fantastic defense. And you got Fale Aviu, the senior, out in left field making plays too. But you have Sydney Romero at third, the senior, to go partner with the freshman Grace Lyons. It's just good balance, young, old, just keeping that tradition and that success going through the different classes.
To work with for Lily Novak, and Juarez evens the count now at 1-1 for that foul ball. Novak staying alive. Did she go around? First base umpire Steve McCowan says no.
The crowd's hungry for this strike 3 ring up, but that's a good take and a hold by Novak. One more pitch to stay alive.
Will this one drop? No! The big catch and the defense from Jocelyn Allo in right field, and the shutout is complete. G. Juarez dominated from start to finish, only allowed 2 hits, but didn't give up any runs. And so Oklahoma wins game 1 of this best of 3 series. Game 2 is in action here from Norman. 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. For Caleb Bro, I'm Tiffany Green. Coming up next, more NCAA Women's Softball Super Regional coverage as Jen Hildreth and Carol Bruggeman take that call.